Well, let's get to our first topic of discussion today. The need to create an enabling investment and business climate underpinned by a motivated, capacitated, and well-resourced world-class civil service that drives open, transparent, high-performance governance at all levels, as well as decisive moves towards building structural and institutional reforms required to unlock local content development, subnational economic diversification, competitiveness, and growth in the medium term. Amongst other topical issues, formed deliberations at the 2022 edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit. The summit, which was themed in 2023 and beyond, priorities for shared prosperity, focused on priorities for post-2023 with emphasis on the policies and strategies encapsulated on the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and Nigerian Agenda 2022 to 2050. Since the country is full of is in an electioneering season, the year 2023 no doubt presents another opportunity to demonstrate a strong political will to tackle Nigeria's socio-economic challenges. Well, let's talk more about this. And joining me via Zoom to look at this is no other person but the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Laoye Jayola. It's good to have you on the program. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Tolu.
Yes, I want to start with the theme of the 2022 conference. Yes, the just concluded conference, and it focuses on shared prosperity. My first question will be, for us to share prosperity as a country, we must be prosperous. Where are we, and where are we, and where are we headed to with this theme?
Well, again, going to the theme, we all have always talked about the fact that Nigeria has the potential to compete with any nation in the world. Now, in terms of human and material resources, we're very, very much endowed by those resources. Unfortunately, we have never lived up to our potentials. And the reason for this is that even the little that we have is not inclusive. And because it is not inclusive, because we are widening the gap between the haves and have-nots, you are seeing an increased level of discontent in the country. Now, when we talk about the divide is not alone across economic lines, but even about social lines and ethnic lines. So people are feeling that, look, we don't belong in this nation, Nigeria. And therefore, what informed the team is the fact that, look, if you're looking beyond 2023, there are certain things that must be in place to be able to build a nation that is prosperous. And therefore, the question is, are we prosperous as we are now? Of course, no. The little we have, is it shared? Of course, no. Do we need to remain as a nation? Yes, we believe Nigeria, we're stronger being together. However, to assure that, key priorities need to be addressed. And those priorities are the thing that formed the center point of our discussions at the last summit.
Looking at the National Development Plan 2021 to 2025, we've had a lot of plans now. CEO, you agree with me. We had the National Economic Plan. There was one we had also during the COVID-19 era, and now it's the development plan. Many say we are not short of plans or ideas. Implementation of these policies is the challenge that we face. I don't know if you agree to that line of thought.
I agree very largely with you that Nigeria is not bereft of ideas. We're not short of plans, but we lack implementation. And more importantly, even the will to implement the simple things we have is not there. Unless and until we remove the bottlenecks towards effective implementation, we can draw all the plans for what we care. Nigeria will not move forward. And that's why one of the center point of our discussion was really on how do we remove those bottlenecks that inhibits effective implementation.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, great,
I
great,
was waiting for
great. Yes, I got that point. So now let's move to discussing other issues that affect us as a nation, and I'm sure was also raised at this gathering, is the issue of poverty. I am worried with the new figures we have. More than 100 million, some people say about 130 something million persons are already in that line. With the current global and, of course, domestic issues, some will say Nigeria is not insulated from the effects of all of this. What should be the agenda of whoever becomes Nigeria's CEO as we move into 2023?
Thank you very much. I think about 2 years ago when the World Bank came up with the data that says 100 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. A number of people said, oh, no, that's not correct. Whose figure? I'm glad that this recent figure is from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And this is done in conjunction with a number of other credible people that work with them. And they came by looking at not only one lens at poverty, they looked at the multi-dimensional aspect of poverty, almost about 18 different dimensions. And they went around as looking at it, even the fact that it varies from sub-region to sub-region, from state to state. And they looked at the various aspects. And this really remains a major issue for whoever is intending to take over government, either at the central level or at the state level. And which is why, for instance, we brought in 4 key issues at a summit that we think will address this. The first, of course, is the role of security. If people are not safe, they can't do anything. One of the things we always tell people is that if you look at our MSMEs, they account for about 70% of total employed people. Unfortunately, and a lot of it from agro-related area. Unfortunately, because of the issue of security, because of the issue of climate change, people are leaving their farms. When you put people at their farms, you then realize that even the yield per acre is poor, and therefore they're just doing at barely subsistence level. We know that most of people are doing farming at subsistence level, and then the security is added to it. What we've seen happen to many of them is that they are leaving the farm and then migrating to the urban city, which is one of the reasons why you have urban slump around us. So what is it that needs to be done? Deal with the issue of security decisively. And some of us, that's good enough, I'm not a military man, but our understanding is that this just requires a matter of will. You can throw money at security, but if there is no will, you won't solve it. Secondly, you need to make people feel belonging. I mean, security may be global, but it's again very local. And when I was growing up in this Lagos, we were brothers keepers. We knew everybody around. If a stranger came into town, we knew them. Today, we are no longer our brother's keeper, and people move around and we don't do a lot of that. So we should involve a lot of local elements there. But added to that is the fact that this issue of macroeconomic stability is our greatest problem for now, apart from security. Today you buy something at 1 naira, tomorrow you don't know how much you are going to buy it. Inflation is high. Yes, you might say COVID is cost it, but we have our own underbelly before it happened. Take even the MSME companies that are trying to employ labor and do things. Today, I don't know how much at price at which they buy, they get $1 to buy what they are importing, if at all they get the dollar. So you need to deal with the issue of our multiple exchange rate. Close to that is the fact that we need to deal with power. Power. There are people that have the capacity to work at almost about 18 hours are merely working at 6 hours. You can imagine how much they will make if they can work a lot longer than they are working. You can imagine how many people they can bring in and work with them. So you need to deal with infrastructure related with its power. You need to deal with issues around even interest rate, inflation, availability of liquidity. So we need macroeconomic stability. And more, the next thing we need to look about, which you consider, is about we need to look about the future of the people. Our health system, yeah, we did a little when COVID started, but more importantly, we need to begin to look at how can we make our people healthy? Because these people that you say are poor, one break to give them a little money, they get some money. Once they fall in, they become sick, they lose all that they have. And then they become poor again. How do we ensure that our primary health center actually are the first point of contact in helping people? So, so we need to deal with that, deal with our skills, our education. So there's a number of things we need to deal with. But those coming into government must realize, first and foremost, there is no money to be spent. Today we're doing fuel subsidy. It's costing this nation about 5 trillion annually. It is not sustainable. I listened to you before at your intro, where you're talking about the fact that the oil marketers are beginning to worry about whether there is enough fuel to go around. You're going to see queue in Lagos and other parts of Nigeria. And that's simply because the subsidy we're doing is not sustainable. And I've been proving data that shows that the poor we're trying to cover are not really the people that consume all this subsidy. So we need to rethink subsidy effectively and take that off from our box. Any incoming government must decide what you want to do with debt. Our debt figure is high. Demo will tell you it's about 50 trillion of what they have. But central bank will tell you they have about 22 trillion ways and means. And if you add that to other category of debts that we have, we are nearing 75 to 80 trillion. If you pay that at TB rates, 1 year TB rates ended about 14 point something. If you do that, it means simply that all the money we intend to generate will service only loans. So those coming in should know that they need to roll their hands and work. But you know, we believe in this country. We just need to set an environment that gives everyone a sense of belonging. People must first believe in Nigeria. That's the first work we believe anybody that comes in needs to do. There is that sense of belonging that we all must have. We must bring security and inclusion, and then you can deal with economic issues. If we don't deal with the social issues around inclusion and around security, we can try. If people, Nigeria, are not investing, how do you bring foreigners to come and invest?
Interesting one there, Mr. Jayola. But I want to ask you, you've identified some major issues that we face as a nation: inflation, forex crisis, our growth rate remains slow, and it's not inclusive. You would agree with me. But I want to ask you this question, and I'm sure you've been asked this before. What do you think about the synergy between our monetary side, which is the central bank, and the support from the fiscal side? Are they working at par to achieve what should be achieved, particularly as this government wraps up in the next few months?
Well, Tulu, I don't know why you're asking me what is very obvious to every one of us. That there used to be a legend in our country before. It's late. He used to say that how can you clap with one hand? Nigeria happens to be a country where our people are clapping with one hand. But you know that if you clap with one hand, you won't hear anything. It's better for us to clap with both hands. I'm not sure we are sufficiently clapping with those hands, and that's obvious to everyone. We're seeing cross creeping of one person doing another person's work, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, is the tone at the top. The leadership must get people right. And one of the things we try to bring to fore at this summit is that we are not part of those that believe that, oh, this government is entered into the lame season. We believe that the remaining 6 months, government can take decisive steps that at least stems the hemorrhage. The nation is hemorrhaging financially, economically, and even socially. We're having a huge band of youth unemployed, people are discontent, and we can use that 6 months to bring people together. And which leads me to another question about the earlier we begin to rethink how the process of transformational leadership emerging in this country, the better. It is not, we just can't be dealt with anybody and everybody. As we are, we have no choice but to pick between what we have. And who are the people that pick these people up, that throw these people up to us? Those that met and delegates, and we all know how that delegate system worked across the various parties. We need to begin to see how we build transformational leaders that evolve, not only in our political life, even in our civil service and our public service. These are the major things that we need to work on. How do we throw up leaders? And to resolve that, we're just going to be walking around in circles.
So if I'm going to follow up with that and say, what is the outlook despite these challenges? And what are some of, should I say, the final communique? Can you highlight a brief of some of the suggestions to government?
The outlooks look very challenging. They are not encouraging unless we take the tough decisions. So, you agree with me, when this government came into being in 2015, at the NESG, we did some scenario analysis, and we came up with 3 possible scenarios that could emerge. But all of it depends on what decisions and what actions we take. And we then went to tell government, if you took these tough decisions now, yeah, in the short run, they may be hurting, but Nigeria will be the better for it. We ignored that, and that took us to our first recession in 2016. And we're still dancing around. We have not taken those tough decisions. And what are the tough decisions? We know that the current subsidy level is not sustainable. Secondly, we know without a doubt that these effects that separate the boys from the men, that gives undue advantage to some people who have access to funding, is not good, is not sustainable. It is killing businesses. Thirdly, this large level of oil theft in Nigeria. Look, we're giving 1.8 million barrels, and we're struggling to produce one. Who are those people selling the oil? And that is just an example of corruption at all levels. And when we say corruption, it's not only at government level, because even private sector have their level of corruptions. I'm the first to say, yes, I agree there is. Unless and until we need to do that, we're joking. And thirdly, and number 4 is we need to have a public service that works. Currently, our public servants are not well paid. Because they're not well paid, we're not attracting the right caliber of people to stay in there. And those who are doing there, Emma, you're not paying very well, you're asking you to implement a budget of large number. Unfortunately for us, nations that are in our positions have leveraged technology to make their lives better. We're not doing that. We're not leveraging technology in government sufficiently. Even our schooling system and academia, we're not doing that. So these are all the things that we need to do, but it requires tough decisions. But more importantly, you first must make Nigeria believe in Nigeria. As it is, Nigerians don't believe in Nigeria. Everybody is being, that and be his brother's keeper is thinking about himself. And the final analysis, Nigeria belongs to no man, the way we do it.
Well, it's a good way to live it. Not really encouraging, but the fact must be said. I appreciate you, Mr. Alaoye Jayola. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. Thank you for your time on the show. We appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.